Hey yo everyone, I won't lie to you guys, I'm kinda bummed out right now. Across the industry, video game studios have been closing left and right, but today, I just want to talk about Xbox's hand in all of this. Xbox has been my primary console since the 360 era, and I want to continue staying on this platform, but it's getting increasingly more difficult for me to defend Microsoft when they're continuing down a path that I just don't really believe in. Just a heads up, this is going to be a big rant and probably all over the place, so I apologize in advance. Anyway, before we begin, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Alright, let's get it. Last week, we were ripping on Sony, and deservedly so, but since my last upload, Xbox has really taken up the villain role in the industry. I wanted to make this video when the news first dropped, but I also wanted to see if any other details would leak out in the following days, so that's why this video is a bit behind, but I think the points I bring up later on are still relevant. Okay, so if you didn't hear, last week Xbox announced out of nowhere basically that they would be shutting down 3 studios: Arcane Austin, the team behind Prey and Redfall, Alpha Dog Games, who made The Mighty Doom, and Tango Gameworks, the studio that made one of my favorite games in honestly probably the last decade, Hi-Fi Rush. They also said that the studio Roundhouse Games would be absorbed into the ZeniMax Online Studios, which is basically the team that works on the Elder Scrolls Online. So obviously, this is a fucking gut punch. This announcement seemingly came out of nowhere, as there were reports that Arcane Austin was still working on cleaning up Redfall and was in the early planning stages for a new Dishonored game when they were shuttered. Tango Gameworks, whose hit game Hi-Fi Rush went on to critical success, was also pitching a sequel to the game before finding out that they were being closed as well. I have so many thoughts on this, so please bear with me as I try to navigate through all this bullshit. Let's start with Arcane Austin. Oof, I feel for these devs. Arcane Austin is the studio behind cult classics like Prey and Dishonored, some of the most beloved games of the 2010s. These games were considered highly stylized, immersive sims, and it's easy to see why. Fun levels, innovative gameplay, engaging storytelling, it's basically everything you'd want for these types of games. So after Xbox bought Bethesda and its umbrella of studios such as Arcane, they assigned Arcane Austin to work on a live service game, which eventually became Redfall. Technically, Redfall development began before Xbox bought Bethesda, but Microsoft had plenty of time to cancel the project and reassign resources because clearly, development for this game was not going as planned, even before Xbox had acquired the studio. Anyway, Arcane Austin was kinda being forced into making a live service game to make up for the commercial failure that Prey was, even though the game had great reviews. Well, this is just karma at its finest. You made a studio with a legendary portfolio work on a lifeless cash cow that they had no interest in, so what do you get? A massive flop of a game. And you know what? I don't even blame Arcane for this because I don't believe for a second that they wanted to make this game in the first place. But Xbox insisted on it, so development continued. Even now, work on patches and future content was in development before Xbox dropped the hammer on the studio. Yeah, thanks for the heads up, Microsoft. I guess I could just throw this video out. God, this is so frustrating. Instead of letting the team work on what they're known for, you made them work on this shitty games as a service trend to try and make a quick buck. And then when the game flops, you're gonna fire everyone who worked on this? Microsoft is basically closing an entire studio because they made the game that they were asked to make. Now we're living in a timeline where the future of their beloved franchises like Dishonored and Prey are up in the air. Who knows if we'll ever see those games again, or what kind of quality they will be if they do end up making a return. And then there's Tango Gameworks. Oh my sweet prince, why did they have to do this to you? For years now, Xbox has been saying that they wanted to break into the Japanese market, so it made sense that they would want to see a Japanese studio like Tango Gameworks succeed. And they did! Despite having absolutely no marketing because it was a shadow drop, Hi-Fi Rush went on to gain tons and tons of love from fans and critics alike. Even now, people are positively review bombing the game to give it its flowers. It went on to be nominated in 5 different categories at the Game Awards, even winning the Best Audio Design category. Just weeks before the studio closure, Aaron Greenberg, the Xbox marketing vice president, posted online that Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with what the team at Tango Gameworks delivered with this surprise release. And yet, that wasn't enough. Even with all of the accolades and positive buzz, Hi-Fi Rush couldn't save Tango Gameworks. So if Xbox is going to be closing down these studios who clearly have potential, whether it be a legacy development team like Arcane Austin or an up-and-coming team like Tango Gameworks, then they must have some sort of grand plan in place, right? Because you can't just commit gaming war crimes like this for no reason, right? I was hoping a more concrete answer would have emerged by now, but unfortunately, I just don't know. It looks like Microsoft is demanding that more resources be allocated to the next Fallout game because of the TV show's massive success. Okay, I did say that I wanted another Fallout game sooner rather than later, but not if this is the cost. Apparently, Xbox is really banking on their big IPs to save them, putting more hands on deck for the next Fallout installment. And that's where I have major issue with how Xbox is dealing with all of this. It's like, if the game doesn't become a billion-dollar franchise, then it gets shut down. They claim that they want a deeper library of games, but once they start to get some that are good, they shut down the studio. I mean, what did you expect? You gave them no marketing. How could you possibly expect Hi-Fi Rush to become a bigger hit than it did? According to your own executives, it exceeded all expectations. Am I crazy for thinking this has been the only decent first-party Xbox game in years? If even the success that Hi-Fi Rush garnered wasn't enough to protect it, then I don't know what will. Is any game safe under Xbox? What franchise or studio is going to get the axe next? And now they're going to host their event next month and talk about how much they care about the gaming industry and their fans. It's disgusting, dude. If you care so much about all of this, why not just let these studios go indie like you did with Toys for Bob? It's baffling to me. I get that you're not making COD numbers with Hi-Fi Rush, but it adds to the overall value of Game Pass and the Xbox brand. By closing this studio and killing that franchise, you're just hurting yourself in the long term. I thought Xbox wanted great games on their platform. Isn't that why they bought up all of these studios? They're acting like Embracer Group here, who we all considered to be the current big bad of the gaming industry. Which leads me to ask, is the Game Pass experiment over? For years now, I've said that Game Pass is the best deal in gaming, at least as a consumer. Even though Microsoft has touted incredible subscriber numbers, I'm starting to doubt the service's success. Clearly, Xbox isn't meeting their fiscal goals if they feel the need to close all of these studios and port their games to other platforms. To me, it looks like they're becoming just a publisher. It makes you wonder, who is Xbox now? It feels as if they are more Activision than they are Xbox anymore. Here's a serious question, and I'm not even being facetious here. What the fuck does Phil Spencer actually do? I know he's the CEO of Xbox, but other than getting nuked in Fallout 76, I don't understand what exactly he's doing for the platform. It feels like for years people have been doubting him and the Game Pass model, and I've been defending him for a while now, but this is just unacceptable. You might say, well, these cost-cutting decisions aren't coming from him, they're coming from the big boys in Microsoft. Dude, you're supposed to be leading Xbox. Stand up for yourself. You gotta drill the point to these white-collar douchebags that closing successful studios isn't a good business practice. I get they want to see the graph go up during their quarterly meetings or whatever, but these closures are like using a band-aid when you need surgery. Does Xbox even have a plan moving forward, or are they just hoping to luck into a big hit for a game? It doesn't feel like the higher-ups even understand what studios they have or what they're working on. I mean, the Activision purchase was a massive deal, and now it feels like Xbox has just overextended themselves and are now having a knee-jerk reaction by firing hundreds and hundreds of employees. Which brings me to the last point I want to talk about. These poor devs, man. All of this amazing talent being just thrown away is a terrible look for Xbox and the industry in general. Think about it like this. If you're a small studio, you have to seriously consider if it's worth the risk to merge with Xbox. I mean, the whole point of wanting to be acquired by a larger company is to gain more resources and ensure job security for your team. If that's not happening, then why would you ever want to work with them? Xbox says that they care about their games and making the industry better for everyone, but their actions say otherwise. Look at how they're treating their successful projects. In a worst case scenario, I fear that this will cast a large shadow on the next generation of game developers. I mean, would you want to spend all of that money on a college education just to hopefully break into an industry in such a disastrous state? And what about the current devs? Will they leave the industry entirely and search for a more secure and stable job? This whole thing is bigger than just so-and-so studio is shutting down. And I know it's not just Xbox. Sony and EA and all the others have been closing studios left and right, but I am most concerned with how Microsoft is dealing with this. Honestly, do you actually think they care about their games anymore? Like the actual content that is being produced? With Halo chasing trends and Bethesda being forced to hasten their production, it's clear Xbox has no control over their own game development. They're just slaves to the executives and stock prices over at Microsoft. At the end of the day, one thing is abundantly clear. No one's ever going to believe an Xbox spokesperson ever again when they report healthy numbers for Game Pass or say that their games exceeded expectations or were a breakout hit. It's breaking my heart to say it, but Xbox might have done irreparable damage to their brand with this one. I hope I'm wrong and I'm just being a stupid doomer, but I am seriously concerned for the future of Xbox and the state of the industry in general. Change will need to happen sooner rather than later, and I just don't know what that will end up looking like. But I want to know what you guys think. I'm sorry this video was so down in the dumps, but I believe that as consumers, we need to stay informed and aware of what's going on in the world around us, especially the stuff we care about. Were you just as shocked as I was with the closure announcements? Are you still standing by Xbox, or are you starting to lose faith? What do you think comes next for the video game industry? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, it means a lot. I appreciate you guys as always, and I'll catch you in the next one.